Assalamu alaikum. This is American Islam, and my name is Mustafa. I think I got a good one for you today. We're going to talk about spiritual poverty and the economic situation that we're all in. You know, it wasn't like this 40 years ago, or when I was coming up as a child or a young man. It was much different. It was a different America than what you see right now. You could go out and you could, just for an example on the economy, you could go out with a dollar. I remember many times my mother would send me to the store with a dollar bill, $1. And she would say, get some hamburger and some hamburger buns. So I'd get to the store and I don't know, I think maybe I got 2 pounds of hamburger or something like that. It's just an incredible amount of hamburger and a pack of hamburger buns for $1. And there was enough left over that I could get a couple pieces of candy. Now, how different that is today when you go to Publix and you see a pound of hamburger for $9 or whatever, and you can't feed a family on a pound of hamburger or fill a package of hamburger buns with hamburgers. But anyway, that was the situation back then. Things were a lot cheaper. Of course, money was a little harder to come by. You worked for less money per week. But all of that aside, life seemed to be a little less stressful and a little bit easier. You didn't turn your TV on and hear of some pandemic that lasts 3 years that's going to kill you, or after that, a war that who knows what that's going to develop into, World War III, they're saying. I mean, you didn't have these things to stress you out like you do today. America is definitely in the decline. And those of you, if you lived here as long as I have, know that that's an absolute fact. As far as spirituality, I can remember when I was a young man and I was pastoring a church and being an assistant pastor and trying to get programs going and trying to get people to come to church. The main focus was Sunday morning. That was it. Doubtfully, people prayed during the week. I don't think they did. I don't think anybody did during the week. Maybe they said a little prayer over their meal, but this was the height of spirituality. And then they wonder why all the problems are taking hold and why they have so many problems and why they can't make it and why there's so many things happening in their family and everything else. Could be that it's because of, their lack of spirituality, their lack of union with God and with Allah. They didn't try to make any prayer. That was unheard of. If people came on Sunday morning, they felt like they were doing a real big thing just by going to church on Sunday morning. And that's incredible. I find that absolutely incredible today. But this was the state of our country. Now, what were they doing? They were involved in recreation. They were involved in making more money, to buy more things, to have more time for recreation. This is what the country has turned into. The lack of spirituality has turned this country into a country that's totally absorbed with money making and recreation. I mean, those are the two things today that are selling. Money making, you got to go out, you got to get this job and that job, you got to get a better job. If you want that new SUV at $60,000, you're going to have a good job. If you want to buy that boat, at $80, $90, or $100,000 for a little speedboat now, you got to get a good job. So you can pay that $1,200, $1,400, $1,600 a month payment onto these things. See, we didn't have these things when I was a kid or coming up. I remember buying a car for maybe $150 and the car lasted a couple of years. Just in reflect of that, I just had to buy a car because my older son has started a job and he's 18 and I gave him my BMW. which was a fairly nice car. It's a BMW 3 Series, and it's an older model, but it's in, good shape, and I took care of it. But I needed another car to get around with, and we went looking, and I looked everywhere. I looked up and down every car company, big and small, and the prices are crazy, absolutely out of this world. So I wound up finding a Dodge Avenger with very low miles for almost $20,000. I can't imagine that. From a $200 car, a $150 car when I was young, to $20,000 for a used car. Now, I want you to wrap your mind around that. Some of you that want to come to this country and get rich, good luck is what I say. Good luck, because I don't know how many jobs you can work or how long you can stay up. But it takes a long time to make $20,000 when you're working for 10, 15 bucks an hour and trying to survive. So keep this in mind. This is what the country has declined to. This is where it's at right now. Now, the decline in religious spirituality has sparked this spiritual poverty, has shown its face all through the economy. I mean, it's no longer a country that believes in God like we say we did. One nation under God. That's what we used to say when we were kids in school. The Pledge of Allegiance. No longer is that so. So you have the rise of what I call the white shoe boys. These are the guys that were born with not a silver spoon but a golden one in their mouth, that went to elite colleges, that never worried about money. These are the ones that are in control. These are the ones that are governing. Okay, these are the ones that are making laws, and this is why we're in so much trouble, because they have no concept of what's going on out in the world. Nothing whatsoever. So the decline in religious standards is this rise in spiritual poverty. And I want you to keep that in mind. There's another thing that I want to touch on a little bit, and because of all of this, there's rising costs in everything that you look at today. And I touched on that a little bit with the car that I just bought, but there's many other rising costs. I mean, there's the cost of housing, which for most people takes about 40% of their income. How different that is today. They're trying to get every penny. Ever since you started putting your money into the bank, into the checking account, and hooking it to a debit card and a credit card, they know exactly how much you spend, and they know exactly how much they can charge you and get the most out of what you're putting in there. And that's exactly what's going on. People don't use cash anymore today. If you try to pay something with cash, they kind of step back and look at you. They're a little suspicious for one thing, because they think maybe you didn't get that cash honestly. And that's the big thing. But the second thing is they don't know what to do with it. I mean, it causes a problem because it's used to having every transaction on paper, not going to the bank with these deposits of cash anymore. That's the way everything is operated today. So they don't like cash. They don't want you to have cash. And they're trying to do away with it, I can guarantee you. So you got these rising costs. I know my son, like I said, he's got his first job in Walmart, and it's better than minimum wage. I think it's $14 an hour or something like that, and he can barely live in the back room of our house for that. But I mean, that's where he's at with that, and doesn't have any bills really. He has a free car to drive around, and it's just not enough money. And how many people are into that situation? It's 40, 60% more for housing costs for most people. And that's for just basic housing. How different that is than I think when I first got married years and years and years ago, when I was a young guy, I think our rent in our apartment was like $65 or $70, something like that. It was a couple bedroom apartment. It wasn't the deluxe luxury apartment, but it was a place that you could live and survive, and it was modest in rent. I mean, you could make a couple $100 a week back then, and $65 was not that great of an expense as compared to today. Try to live today. Some of you people are trying to think about, well, I'm going to come to America and get one of them jobs, and I'm going to live so much better. Nah, you're going to come to America, get one of these jobs, live basically almost in a cardboard box in the street, and be on, the long lines for food at the food bank, because that's what we've become. That's what America is right now. Now, a few people got money, and it seems like they got some assets, but wait a minute. I think they got better credit, because they're getting these things on credit, mortgages and things like that. And the big crunch that happened just lately, and it hasn't come to fruition yet, is the housing market. When people weren't able to pay the rent. If they're not able to pay the rent, you're not able to pay your mortgage, and guess what's going to happen sooner or later? The banks are going to take that property from you. And this is what's coming up very shortly. They're trying to focus and get your mind off all these things right now. High prices that they've created. They've created these high prices. They don't exist. They made it what it is. Keep that in mind. This is an old man talking, but you watch and see what's going to happen in this country. It used to be we had, the COLA, the cost index for inflation, okay? They say it's at 5.9. This old man says that cost of living is more like 17 to 20% and going up. They put it at 5.9 so the Social Security recipients, they wouldn't have to pay them any more money. But that's why it's there. But the cost of living, actual cost of living, when you go to the store, you know it's more than 5.9% when you look at your grocery bill. So I don't know what's going to happen completely. I do know that we're headed for a real big problem here in this country. And if you don't believe that, you got to be on some kind of medication or drugs or something or another, because it's coming. It used to be that when you retired, and retirement was like a three-legged stool, all right? It was able to balance as long as you had the three legs, right? And the three legs were your savings, your Social Security, and your retirement from your company that you worked for, okay? But today, with the new generation, and myself included, that's not the case anymore. There's no more three-legged stools. You're more or less like on a pogo stick, trying to balance on one leg and hopping around like this. Trying to balance without falling over. And it gets tippity sometimes, back and forth like that. And that's where we're at. Don't you find that amazing that the richest country in the world is in this kind of a state? And I think it's through bad leadership, and it's through our disregard for Allah, for God. No longer are we worshiping God, we're worshiping dollars. It's plain to see. We're worshiping entertainment. We're worshiping entertainers more than we are the people of God trying to bring you these messages. A lot of people know more about Angela Jolene than they do about Brother Mustafa, who's trying to lead them down guide them down the road, in the right direction. They just don't care about this anymore. Channels like mine are small, but I don't care, The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, I have probably as many subscribers that are loyal subscribers, and I mean loyal. They stick with me. Even though I don't produce a video all the time, they're there for me. And when I look back at the Prophet, he didn't have very many followers. And why? Because of the polytheists. That's what they were. His message wasn't very appealing to them. So he didn't have very many. If he would have been on YouTube back then, he wouldn't have had too many subscribers, I can guarantee you. It wasn't until later on when he started to branch out into Medina and he made the Hijrah and things started to happen, but much later. Okay, so the idea of not having very many, that's not a big issue, you know. Collecting money, there may be a time when I, you know, will make some pleas for money or whatever. That may be in the future. Things are getting worse for me on a limited income. All right. Everybody's income is limited. Some are limited more than others. Okay. That's the way it is. So I don't know what the future is, but you guys that are loyal, that stick with me, just keep on viewing. I'll tell you what, I won't set you wrong. If I don't know something, I'm not going to tell you about it. I'm not going to talk about it. But I will say, if you don't believe that there's a problem in the United States today, there's something wrong with you. You're just not paying attention, or you're wanting to not believe what's going on. And I think that's a big portion of people. They don't want to believe what's going on. You know, I look at my subscribers and I look at the numbers and where they're from, and most of my subscribers are not Americans. You know, it's sad to say, because this country is dead, spiritually dead. And it's Muslims that come here. They die too, because they're surrounded by polytheists. They're surrounded by culture of this lifestyle. And sooner or later, the young people that are coming up, they join in on what's going on. You couldn't tell a Muslim, a young teen Muslim, from anyone else in this country nowadays. You couldn't tell the difference. They're just the same. Tight pants, you know, maybe shorts, no hijab. I mean, the list goes on. And promiscuity, dating, holding hands, all this other stuff. You know what that leads to, don't you? Hey, you're not stupid, are you? And you got a real problem here, a real problem in this country. We need more Islamic schools. You need to support mosques being built that are going to have an Islamic school, and mosques that have an imam that's willing to go all out, have the 5 prayers a day, be an imam. We have so many little masjids around that are just little prayer palaces, I call them. That's all they are. They come bouncing in on Friday, a lot of them in their work garb, and you know, listen, do the prayer and a little khutbah, and bounce back out, you know, and head for their job for another 4, 5, 6 hours, you know, to make some money. This is what we are. This is where we're at. Now you tell me what's going to happen on that day of judgment. You know, I don't want to be in your shoes, and I'm going to have to give account for what I said to you, and you're going to have to give account for what you heard. That's the big thing. What did you hear? Didn't Mustafa say that you shouldn't be doing these things? Didn't he warn you against these things? And there you stand, and you're going to give account, right? Okay, I want to get off that subject right there, because, you know, that seems kind of like in the future for most people, but it's not so in the future if you think about it. But the idea is we need real mosques, real imams that are not DIY imams where you just go down in the crowd and pull somebody up there to do the khutbah. I've seen them do that over and over. And if somebody does a good khutbah, they get them again and again and again. And, you know, doctors and dentists and candlestick makers and butchers and mechanics, you know, whatever it is. This is the kind of imams you have. So do you wonder why you're where you are? You wonder why you're having so much problem? Take a guess. Take a guess. All right? You think it's going to get better? I don't think so. I think it's going to get a lot worse. And it's coming for you. Just like a locomotive and you're standing on the track. Okay? All right, enough of that. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. It wasn't a lesson really of rebuke, but of warning. Now that you've been warned, you have to be accountable for that warning. All right? Whatever lines up with Allah, His Word, the Quran, you have to be accountable for that, okay? A lot of Christians, you Christians out there, and you believe in the book, you believe in the Scripture, you believe in Jesus, okay? You're going to have to give account for what it says, all right? You're going to have to give account for your lack of knowledge and your lack of study. All these things you're going to give account for. Be very careful, friends. This life is fleeting and it's very, very unstable. You can see that. People in Ukraine right now leaving with the bags on their back. That could be easily you in America. So I want you to consider what you're doing and think about what's going on. Help one another like we used to back when I was a kid. Give zakat to the poor if you have it to give. On a final note, I want to show you something. This is one of the little toys that my daughter had. I don't know if you can see it or not. But that's a toilet. And that's where the economy and the spiritual condition of this country is right now in the United States. It's down in the bottom of that toilet. So help me and help your brothers and sisters and help those that are loyal, and I mean the ones that are loyal to Islam, pull America out of this toilet that it's in. We have limited amount of time. You have a limited amount of time. I want you to keep these things in mind. Now, if you think I lost my marbles, I didn't, and I'm just concerned about everything going on, and I'm seeing the changes like every old man throughout history has seen the changes that are coming, and I'm scared. I'm scared for you. I'm scared for your kids. Absolutely, because their lives are not going to be as good as yours. My kids aren't going to have the same standards that I had when I was a kid coming up. That's obvious. I see it. So, may Allah bless you, may He keep you in good health, may He protect you in whatever situation you're in. May you have plenty to eat, and may your family grow and prosper. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Until we meet again, I've got another good one that's going to be coming up, and it's going to be on what's actually killing this country, the United States. I think you're going to be interested in hearing my view on what's killing this country, because there's several things. I touched on some of them, but there's several things that are killing this country. So, assalamu alaikum. May Allah bless you and keep you.